During a routine flight, a drone captured footage of a remote valley, uncovering something chilling that was meant to remain hidden. The drone's camera, originally meant to capture nature's beauty, stumbled upon a scene that sent shivers down the spine of everyone who saw the footage. This unexpected discovery in the valley was something that was never meant to be seen by the public, raising questions and fears about what lay hidden in the secluded area. Landon's heart raced as he looked at the screen in his hands. Was he really seeing this? What on earth was that place? Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. He let his drone hover above it for a few minutes to get a couple of good shots. Then, he lowered his drone slowly, trying to get as close as possible. But as his drone dropped lower, his screen suddenly began to blur until it eventually fully turned black. Landon smacked his palm against the screen a few times, but nothing worked. His drone had crashed out of the blue. He sighed as he sat down on the ground. How does a perfectly fine drone suddenly break down? He knew it had something to do with what he saw in the footage. There was only one thing he could do now. He had to find his drone. Without thinking much more of it, he jumped in his Jeep. He roughly knew where he had to go, but he wasn't entirely sure. He did his best to remember the way he came from so he would be able to find his way back. But the further he drove, the more uncertain he became. But as he broke through the tree line, he had to make an emergency stop, stepping on his brake at full force. This wasn't the place he had seen in the footage. This was the edge of a big ravine. Landon took a big breath to try to get his heart rate down. If he hadn't acted as quickly as he did, he would have driven into the ravine at full speed. He slowly began to back up his Jeep. He was still a little shaken up, but he knew he had to push through. Time was ticking by, and he was slowly losing daylight. He began to search for the spot again, driving a little slower now. Eagle-eyed, he looked around him, trying to spot something that seemed familiar to him. Suddenly, in the corner of his eye, he spotted a clearing. Landon pressed on the brake again and made a U-turn. "This has to be it," he confidently said to himself. "It just has to be." And Landon was right. As he stepped out of his Jeep and walked into the clearing, his eyes turned wide in amazement. But his amazement was quickly replaced by an eerie feeling. Never in a million years had he thought to stumble upon this in the middle of a remote forest. The strange object he had seen through his drone was actually a huge metal dome. As Landon slowly began to walk around the metal dome looking for his drone, he began to wonder how it had gotten there. There was no road in sight, and such a large object surely couldn't have been driven through this terrain. Suddenly, something caught Landon's attention. As he walked along the dome, he realized it was locked with thick metal chains. There was something sealed away inside the dome, and whoever put it there made sure no one would ever find it, or at least he tried. Suddenly, Landon spotted his drone. He quickly ran to it, picking it up from the ground. The camera was smashed, and it was full of scratches, which saddened Landon as he had only bought the drone 3 months ago. He brushed some of the dirt off the drone and placed it safely in his Jeep. Now he could turn back, as he only came here because of his drone. But something held him back. It was a strange kind of feeling, as if there was more to discover about this place. He wondered what could be inside the dome. It couldn't harm him to stay a little longer, right? Well, that's what he thought. Little did he know, staying there was actually a very bad idea. He looked around and realized it almost looked like the dome had been dropped from the sky. It was imprinted deep into the ground, and it looked like it had been there for a very long time. Suddenly, Landon remembered he might have a bolt cutter in his Jeep to cut the chains. He had used those bolt cutters a week ago while helping his father in the yard, so there was a big chance they were still in his trunk, but sadly, when he looked there, it was empty. Determined to find out more about those trucks, he got back into his Jeep. He had to get home and find those bolt cutters. But getting home seemed a lot harder than he had thought. He drove around for hours trying to find the main road he had come from. Finally, as it was getting dark out, he felt the smooth asphalt underneath his tires and sighed in relief. He quickly drove home, searched for the bolt cutters, and put them in his Jeep. Tomorrow, he will see what's hiding inside the metal dome. The next morning, Landon woke up feeling energized and ready to uncover whatever mystery was hidden inside the dome. He loaded all the gear he thought he would need inside his Jeep gloves, a mask, and other protective equipment, and headed back to the remote forest. Landon rose before sunrise, driven by a clear sense of purpose. Once on the road, the familiar path through the forest felt different. The forest grew denser as he approached the site. When he finally reached the clearing, the eerie quiet struck him again. He cut the engine and stepped out, immediately noticing the unsettling absence of sound. In daylight, the dome appeared even more intimidating. Its smooth metal surface reflected the sun, giving it an almost otherworldly aura. Landon scanned the area for cameras or guards but found none. The lack of security only deepened his curiosity and concern. Why was such a massive structure sitting here unprotected? He approached the heavy chains wrapping around the entrance. Up close, they seemed even more impenetrable than before. His failed attempt to cut them with the drone echoed in his mind. Now, with bolt cutters in hand, he was determined to try again. Positioning the cutters around the first link, he pushed with all his strength. The metal strained but refused to break. He adjusted his grip and tried again. A faint groan came from the chain, a small sign of progress that kept him going, but after several attempts, it became clear these chains were far stronger than anything he had expected. Searching the surrounding area, Landon began scanning for anything that could help. Then he spotted a large, sharp-edged rock, heavy, solid, and potentially useful. Raising the rock, he struck the metal with full force. The impact rang through the clearing stone against steel, a sharp reminder that he was far from giving up. He hit the chains again, each strike echoing his resolve to uncover whatever lay hidden inside that mysterious dome. Slowly, the once flawless chains begin to show wear. With every strike, he feels himself pushing further into the truth he's been chasing. Then, with one final, forceful blow, the chains snap. He catches his breath, wiping sweat from his brow. The open doorway is dark and silent, like the mouth of another world. After a final check of his gear, he pushes the creaking metal door inward. The loud groan echoes through the hollow interior, announcing his arrival. A musty, stale odor fills the air, urging him to pull on his mask. Landon moves carefully, noting the profound silence broken only by the sound of his own footsteps. As his eyes adjust, more details emerge: workstations, equipment, and scattered personal items that hint at a place once filled with activity. Then he sees it. A blinking red light. A camera. The sight freezes him. The dome may look abandoned, but someone is watching. The modern device stands out sharply against the dust-covered machines, sending a cold prickle down his spine. He approaches several doors, but each one is locked and secured with advanced mechanisms he can't bypass. The weight of being watched becomes impossible to ignore. With no way forward and no way to hide his intrusion, Landon realizes he must leave. The secrets of the dome remain just out of reach, and now a new question hangs over him. Who was watching? The risk of getting caught has become too great. Landon decides to retreat, his steps heavy as he backtracks toward the entrance. The adventure he began with so much hope is ending not with answers, but with more questions. He keeps glancing over his shoulder, half expecting someone behind the surveillance to appear, yet the dome remains silent and unreadable. A rising urgency pushes him forward. Panic takes hold as he rushes through the corridors, driven by the realization that his presence has been detected. Stepping out into the daylight, the brightness feels overwhelming after the dome's darkness. He hurries to his Jeep, hands shaking as he starts the engine. In the distance, police sirens pierce the air. The sound jolts him, confirmation that his intrusion has triggered a response. The consequences he hadn't fully considered now press in on him. As he tries to speed away, a patrol car appears around a bend, blocking the road. With no escape left, Landon stops the Jeep, raises his hands, and prepares to face the fallout. He's detained and taken to the police station, the metallic click of handcuffs a sobering reminder of how drastically the day has shifted. During questioning, Landon explains how the discovery was accidental, recounting the drone crash, the strange dome, and his growing curiosity. The officers listen, though their skepticism is clear. Then one officer recognizes the dome's significance. His expression shifts as he asks more detailed questions, connecting Landon's account to information only someone familiar with classified operations would know. The tone in the room changes. The interrogation becomes more investigative than accusatory. Landon feels a small glimmer of hope. The officers discuss his situation, his cooperation, lack of harmful intent, and the circumstances of his discovery. Eventually, they explain the truth. The dome was once part of a secret military laboratory, abandoned but still monitored. Landon is warned that the information is sensitive and must remain confidential. After a stern caution about national security, he is released. Back home, the quiet of his living room stands in stark contrast to the turmoil of the day. He reflects on the mystery of the dome, the close call with the law, and the heavy secret he now carries. The experience has left him shaken, but also aware of how quickly curiosity can spiral into danger. Determined to understand more, Landon begins researching the dome's past. He uncovers old records and archived documents revealing that the structure was once central to classified experiments. He realizes the importance of what he stumbled upon and the potential consequences if the information were mishandled. The weight of this knowledge forces him to a difficult decision. Understanding the risks involved, he chooses to keep the secret. Some discoveries, he realizes, come with responsibilities too great to share. Silence becomes his way of protecting himself and others from the unknown implications. As he reflects on his narrow escape from legal trouble, Landon feels a renewed respect for the boundaries he crossed. The experience has not extinguished his desire for adventure, but it has reshaped his understanding of risk. He now approaches the unknown with greater caution, aware that some mysteries may be better left undisturbed. Still, the horizon calls to him. With lessons learned and a more careful mindset, Landon looks ahead, curiosity intact, but tempered by the knowledge that every discovery carries a price.